Good afternoon. It's Tuesday, the 31st of March 2015, just after 1 o'clock. Welcome to UK Column News. I'm your host this afternoon, Brian Gerrish. With me in the studio is John Shackleton from Response, and we're going to be having a look at the news together. Behind the technical desk is Nick Green, and that's the lineup for today. So weather in Plymouth, a bit cold and chilly, round about 10 degrees, very strong southwesterly wind, gales overnight, some blue sky, quite a few clouds, and we're going to say we think it's roughly the same across the rest of the UK. But let's turn our attention to the election. What better place to start than the government propaganda machine, the BBC? So here we are, BBC News. And of course, it's promoting our leader, David "Our King" Cameron, as we know him. And the big headline there, Election 2015, I want to see the job through, says Cameron. And we're going to say BBC propaganda machine promotes the same old people, same old parties. What's your feeling on the election? I take it you're going to vote for David Cameron, John?
Can I say this on air, that over my dead body would I ever vote for somebody that's, in my opinion, has betrayed our country and committed treason? So I'm definitely not going to be voting David Cameron or Ed Miliband. I don't think any party really deserves our votes at this moment in time, but that's my humble opinion.
Well, I'd support it. We didn't actually agree the line before starting the programme, but it's interesting, we get David Cameron and the word treason in the first 20 seconds, which seems appropriate to me. And how interesting that you've actually mentioned Mr. Miliband as well. Let's remember, well, he's here against a red background, of course, an out-and-out Marxist, bred within a Marxist family, hides under the cloak of New Labour. But what's this man about? Extreme Marxist ideology. Both of them, of course, have both parties worked with Julia Middleton's political charity Common Purpose in the background, itself linked to Demos. Sorry, we just bring in the headline there. Everything's okay. We'd like to reassure the general public in Britain that everything is okay. What we need to do is to trust Tory-peered Lord Ashcroft's latest weekly survey. It's remarkable, isn't it? We can have a paper promoting a survey carried out by one of the parties. And this is what his survey says. He showed his party gaining 3 points to 36% on last week when the two main parties were neck and neck, with Labour up one on 34%. So we now present as if it's independent, the Tory party pushing over its own performance in the run-up to the election.
Is it, quite frankly, a false agenda, isn't it? By a massive donor to the Tory party, basically saying that they're leading the way. If that's not propaganda, then I don't know what is.
And the key bit is nothing comes out in these articles to actually dig into the background of why we should believe a word that's said. I thought it might be interesting here just to bring in the Mail on Sunday. I'll just hold that up. But I picked this one up. A big article. It says, why is this election so odd? Because, says the Prime Minister's Oxford tutor, the main party's stance on gay marriage, Europe and immigration has left Britons baffled, belittled, betrayed. So the man is Vernon Bogdanor. He's Professor of Government at King's College London. If you look into this gentleman's background, of course, he's a teacher. He hasn't actually done anything, but he's an expert on government. And my feeling is, if this is the man that trained our Prime Minister, who you now say is committing treason, and I would support that, is this where the seat of the rot is?
Well, it is. I mean, we've talked about it in the past, about our education system and who is educating our potential future leaders, and this is one of the people that's doing that.
Groomed at university, brought through the system, put into politics, and who is this man? I think we'll do a little bit more work on him, but he's boasting that he's the man that created Cameron. Cameron has virtually destroyed the country. and he needs another term in office to finish the job. I think that's what Cameron's talking about when he says he wants to finish the job. That's the utter destruction of this country. And this gentleman, Oxford University as usual, is boasting. Well, some time ago, we brought up this gentleman here, Kim Jong-un, from Korea, North Korea, in fact, and he was reported in many of the British newspapers because, well, disgracefully, he'd been deleting articles from the state news agency archive in what the papers described as a calculated rewriting of history. 35,000 articles were slowly disappeared. We were very interested in this man because, of course, he's known as a dictator. But it was surprising that if we looked at the Daily Mail, the epic British newspaper, it said the Tories had deleted every pre-2010 speech and news stories from their website in an attempt to rewrite history. So it seems to me we've got one dictator that we can see. We've got another one that likes to parade in sharp suits and pretend he's there for democracy. But utterly blatant, the technique's the same, remove information from the public, and presumably Cameron did want the public looking back in this election and seeing what they'd promised last time. But they
false promises, again, you know, by both political parties. Both of them are doing exactly the same. As far as I'm concerned, through history, I think they've shown. What shocks me is I woke up in a guest house this morning and went for breakfast and spoke to, if you like, a packed audience of people, basically. And a guy said to me, "What do you think about politics?" And, you know, I said to you earlier this morning, I'm probably the wrong guy to ask because my opinion is very strong. And I think we've got a political climate that is destroying people's lives. It's destroying the military, and we've
discussed that.
We've discussed that today and last week. Democracy hasn't existed in this country, God, for a long time, a long time. And we've got to do something about it, really. Yeah.
Well, if we just put that one back on screen, if you will, Nick, we just thought we'd add in here, we're showing people the absolute facts. We've got a dictator in Korea that we're supposed to hate because he does the sort of things that dictators do, which is destroy the truth, hide information. And then we've got David Cameron doing the same thing. But because it's the run-up to the election, we'd like to say, if you want a British police state by stealth, then do vote Conservative. It seems the only thing we can advise people to do, that if they want to live in this sort of society, then don't be shy, vote Tory.
Yeah, quite right.
I think I'm going to be told off for sarcasm after the programme. But
I think it's a high alert sarcasm that we've got at the moment, or even a red alert sarcasm, because it's all about slavery, and slavery was abolished. I think I'm right with the date, 1833, but it's around that time. And the fact of the matter is the government. Well, it's a nanny state, isn't it? They want to look after us, but they're looking after themselves, and we all know that. And you know, as I spoke in this guest house this morning, just for a short period of time, all by accident, I said, "Do you really want your children to carry on?" I said, "They're fully well. The public know out there that we've got a problem with paedophilia. They know it. They know for a fact that they're being taxed to death. You know, and I'm not only talking about council tax, but other taxes and stealth taxes and VAT, which isn't value added at all. And if people don't do something now, I mean, but I think we've got 25 days to the. It might be 25 days or something around there. Yeah. It's something around there. And an interesting thing, I don't know if I can point it out now, but this is the longest period without a parliament since 1924. So we're going to have 25 days up to the election where we've got nobody sitting in power.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll do okay. I wonder what happens in that 25-day period.
It's a fascinating piece of information, that. And of course, if we think it through, we say, who's running the country? Well, the civil service has got to be running the country, highly politicised. So who's in power? Sir Bob Kerslake, is he running the country? And we've got Cameron having backdoor discussions about how the coalition will be formed. So one of the things the UK column has been pushing is that the aim of this election is not to have an outright winning party. It's simply to ensure there's what we're calling a rainbow coalition. We're going to have Lib Dems, Conservative Labour, SNP, UKIP, Greens, and maybe a couple of others.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a single party state. That's where we say it's going. But yeah, an incredible amount of time but before the election where nobody's making decisions. No. Or does that tell us politicians are useless in the first place and you don't need them?
It does. I mean, the interesting thing as well, and you can look this up, I saw it in, was it The Guardian? Did I say The Guardian?
Yes, you did, yeah.
The Guardian newspaper basically stating that all the MP security passes have been taken off of them. We're not making this up. You can check it in The Guardian or check it out. It's a fact. So they can't get into Parliament now or make any decisions. But, quite scary to me, the Lords can. So if there's a decision to be made within the next 25 days, none of the elected MPs can make that decision now.
But appointed people, virtually appointed
But these Lords, they can. Very strange circumstances.
Well, let's have a look at this view, which is a real view of Britain in 2015. This is the state of Downing Street. We say Putin's Russia, no, the face of democracy in Britain. And what have we got? We've got fences, we've got black-suited police, we've got submachine guns. This can only be to protect a very terrified man. And of course, it's been the UK column alone in recent days that's reported that David Cameron is now so scared in his bunker that he's calling on the military police to actually help defend him. And of course, if you have gates over Downing Street, you need blacked out cars. This was a car leaving, it was actually leaving Downing Street at the time of the previous budget, but nothing's changed. These cars are still going in and out. We say hidden, dark, secretive and dangerous. And of course, we've got to remember that dirty deeds are done in the dark. So who are the people that are so important they have to drive around in blacked out cars like this? Maybe it's the head of the BBC, because he's pretty scared at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, well, the BBC, he's getting protection now, isn't he? Because his life's been threatened. I don't know what else to say on it, really.
Well, one email.
One email is, he's being threatened, and David Cameron's so scared of his own people in this country that he's having an armed guard 24/7 as well. What does that say?
Well, it says probably he's believing the pack of lies that's coming out of MI5, MI6 and GCHQ. So that leads us in very nicely to this story here, which is cropping up on a number of papers. So the smiling face, the man you can trust, is the head of MI6. The Telegraph is saying that he is warning us that cyber terrorism becoming more dangerous in a global world. Of course, we're all to be terrified on a daily basis of ISIS, IS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra, and anybody else that the government cooks up. Guardian following along, MI6 chief says service is in a technology arms race with terrorists and criminals. We never really get shown who these mysterious terrorists and criminals are, well, apart from the ones in Westminster, of course. And the Express, here is going for it, revealed how elite MI6 spies are taking on cyber terrorism, according to the agency's own M. Britain's intelligence agencies are engaged in a technology arms race with terrorists, cyber criminals and other malicious actors. This man has said, well, who is he? He's spy boss Alex Younger. And this one I thought was a brilliant comment. He says he's facing opponents unconstrained by consideration of ethics and law. I think he must be talking about members of Parliament or criminals there. It's a bit difficult. But we've got some questions about this man. We'd like to know who he is. We'd like to know who appointed him. We'd like to know why we should trust what he says. We'd like to know what his values and standards are. We'd like to know who he's connected with, where his allegiances lie. And we particularly like to ask why MI6 under his hand appears incapable of stopping foreign powers using blackmail through paedophilia. So he's got all this technology, but he doesn't seem to be able to get near the paedophiles that are circling around and through Westminster. Pretty impressive.
That is for an intelligence service that doesn't have that intel. It's very impressive indeed.
Not fit for purpose, probably.
Yeah.
Well, here we are into the election, and David Cameron is promising, deleting his earlier promises in case they're embarrassing. But he says that he's going to give everybody a job by 2020. Let's have a look at that. So the Independent here, and we're just going to say this man lies and lies and lies again. Who are the people who are going to get the jobs? Are they the ones that haven't been disposed of through the NHS? This is utter nonsense, and of course none of their election promises have been kept, and they simply delete those promises from the internet. Well, it gets better because, of course, as we run into the election, the UK GDP growth has been revised, and that's up 0.6%. So get out there with the champagne. And remarkable that it's just in time for the election. But we did notice this, a little bit small on screen, but it says figures show UK PLC grew faster than first thought. So what we're actually seeing here is the truth hidden in plain sight, because they're crowing that the UK is a bank-owned company making profit on the backs of the general public. It's remarkable, isn't it, as this stuff comes into the fore?
It is. All these good news stories, are very, very strange, aren't they? All of a sudden we've got an election and they're desperate to cling on to power, and growth is going up and petrol's going down, and they're going to give more money to you and I, and we're going to have more jobs, and we should be really, really happy because look around you, everything's great. But on the other hand, we have to be careful because obviously ISIS and other terrorist organisations are running around, although I didn't see them on the way into the office this morning, but I'm told that there are terrorists running around our streets as we speak.
Under every bed.
Yes,
I think that's where they are.
Yeah.
Well, could we solve the nonsense that's the LibLab con at the moment? Of course we could. What do we need to deal with? We need to deal with the lie of the creation of money from nothing. And let's just remember that in the background, arch-Tory George Osborne simply doesn't want to mention a reintroduction of the Bradbury pound, because if we did that, we'd get rid of the debt-based currency created from nothing, and we could have a happy society and economy running on national credit. The word none of these people will mention. And we're going to say here that Nigel Farage is getting some coverage for UKIP in the national press, and he's made some pretty good statements. This one here says, unless we govern our own country, frankly, many other debates are irrelevant. Well, this is absolutely true. So we want to be friendly with Europe, trade with Europe, but make our own laws. Common law, I think he should be looking at there. We don't find the fact that 75% of our legislation is made somewhere else acceptable. So that's all really good. But interesting that if you look at his pledges, he's promising to quit EU, control the borders and pump 3 billion into the NHS, slash foreign aid, charge no tax. But he never, ever will get on board the reintroduction of the Bradbury pound. And this interests me because the Bradbury pound is the solution. You take power away from the banks, you're then starting to get control of your economy. This would be an easy and factual one for Mr. Farage to go for, but he doesn't want to do it.
No, because it's interest-free as well, isn't it? And they like debt. We know that governments love debt because it controls, not you or I, but it does control the masses out there. And I've actually had a brief discussion, although over social media, with Nigel Farage, asking him about the Bradbury pound, which I do because I'm a strong supporter of the Bradbury pound, and we've got the British Constitutional Group have got different campaigns running as we speak on the Bradbury pound. But not only that, but also about other areas that people are concerned about, and we go back to, and I'm sorry, well, I'm not even sorry to say this, but we go back to paedophilia. We go back to the problems that we've got with our National Health Service, etc. But none of these politicians will engage with the public on such conversations, and we need to ask, well, why?
Why? Yeah. Well, on the subject of money, how the economy is run, what's real, what's happening with law, you introduced this very, very
Oh, right,
interesting
yes.
subject to do with council tax, because
That's
of
right.
course law-abiding people in this country are working very hard, then they have to pay their bills, and one of the bills is council tax. You've got this astonishing council tax bill to show us.
That's right. A lot of people have always said, well, where's the proof? I've not paid council tax. Well, I've not paid council tax at all. I refuse to pay it because, for one, it's funding illegal activity, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a father with brilliant children, well, grown-up children. But you've got a police force, not all of them, but you've got a lot of the police authority.
Just to interject slightly, just very quickly take the viewers through what that bill is showing there. And then
It's basically showing a zero amount, and I can guarantee to you that I've not paid a penny. So what you're seeing there is 1,000. Is it 1,200 and?
it's 1,235.77. That's the total requirement, and then the billed amount is zero.
Yeah, and basically I've gone to the council. I mean, I'm not originally from Portsmouth, but I've virtually gone to the council and said, look, I want an invoice with the terms and conditions because this is contractual.
Yeah.
And as you know, my history is all about commercial law, contract law. This is what I do. And I've said, just give me the details, pointing out what services you're providing me. I'm more than happy to pay for a service. But if
Yeah.
you're not providing me a service, I'm not paying. Why should I? And why
Yeah.
should anybody out there? And I would suggest to a lot of people out there that they either contact us through UK Column or the British Constitutional Group, and we'll help them in certain taxation areas. Because this is a sham. This is money that is going into MPs' pockets because it pays for their pension. And you can check this out. You can really check it out online. Just do a Google search. Eric Pickles talked about it, I think it was late last year, about the council tax paying towards their private pensions. You want to pay for an MP's private pension?
Not particularly, no.
Neither do I.
Right, so we're just dropping this one in. We thought it would be an interesting
Statement.
statement to have a look at this as we see all the hype coming up with the lead into the elections. We'll do some more work on this. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of interest from it, and we can give people some detail.
Yeah, definitely.
So stay with us over the coming days. Well, a little bit of an advert for the UK Column and our material. We'd just like to remind people that we are streaming via the website 24 hours a day. We're also offering individual and joint memberships, £24 and £36 a year, if you'd like to join the UK Column and the British Constitution Group. And we are going to put out some sort of favourites of the viewing, not today, but in the coming days, to allow people to go and see what we think are the more important videos. So, of course, with the problems we've had with @VOD, we're not allowed to be too TV-like, but several people have said to us, can we give them some pointers as to what the best viewing is? So that will be happening. Well, quick change of subject. We're going to come on to the Hampstead child abuse. Don't know, are we able to just pop this one on screen, Nick? This retired police officer, Ray Savage, he's produced a fantastic little interview here with one of the policemen at the Hampstead school. This is where the two young children were seriously sexually abused as part of a cult. And in the interview, former Detective Inspector Ray Savage says there has been no police investigation into the Hampstead child abuse case. And he sets out the fact that he believes the mother and her partner. So we're going to play this little video out, and we must thank Mark Ceylon for this clip. Thank you very much, Mark.
Former police officer of 20 years, I had the opportunity of actually sitting with a mother in this case for 3 hours. I can absolutely tell you with my experience of interrogation over a 20-year period, as a former detective sergeant, she was speaking 110% truth. I know there's been no investigation, been no proper police statement taken from this woman because of the way she's been harassed. I also know that we have child abuse in this country to epidemic levels. I was on Saturday sitting with a former MP from the Home Office who categorically stated to me that we've got now about 1 in 10 children being abused. And we have a police force that's in denial, and it's not you. I know that. It comes from senior levels. We now need to recognise this and start acting on it to change the ethos of what is wrecking so many children's lives and costing so much deprivation and degradation to the way we live on this planet. I'm really putting that out there clearly. Everybody knows it. We've got to start acting on it, and a great time to do that is at this election. We've got an election coming up, and we need on the hustings to ask what our MPs are doing about this. A lot of it is underpinned by the ridiculous situation that we've got with debt and the way our financial system actually constrains people from talking. Well, that certainly needs looking at. But just think, we have a former Home Office minister who has said that we've got 1 in 10 children being abused. And it's going on now. It's not historic, it was historic, but it's happening now. And Ella and those 2 children's case is not unique. I sat with her for 3 hours, and what she shared was 100% truth. And I know no police officers have properly investigated this. It's incumbent upon you, Sergeant, to make sure that that investigation starts fully and fairly. And I'm not looking to blame. What I'm looking for is a time when we can turn our backs on this sort of happening, that we can keep our children safe and we can live a life where they can flourish and not be suppressed. I was with someone who was abused by a Catholic priest. It massively, massively changes people's lives. And there are people around me here who have been abused. It hugely changes lives. So if we can't look after our children in this society, we're doing a pretty poor job. So let's change it. You know, I know you're a good man, and there's good men around here and good women around here who want to see that happen. So let's make it happen.
Tell us again your former title.
I was a detective sergeant in Sussex Police.
Your name, okay?
Ray.
Well, there you are. A very, very interesting little report, thanks to Mark Salon. And, well, where does this take us? So we have a very experienced ex-detective sergeant who is simply saying that the Met Police have not done their job once again over the Hampstead abuse. And, of course, you look around the little group of people there, I don't see any mainstream press or reporters. And, of course, as UK Column has been saying over the last few days, that we've seen outrageous reports, not only by the Red Tops, but also newspapers like the Daily Mail, simply basing their report of the Hampstead abuse on Judge Palfrey's verdict, so the word of one lady judge from within a secret court. And then the Daily Mail team casually told me, well, of course, we did look at some of the stuff on the internet. So no proper investigation, no meeting the mother and her partner. And now we've got a retired policeman brave enough to speak out and say something's not right.
Yeah, with 20 years' experience, so he's got to be listened to, hasn't he? You know?
Yes.
Well, hopefully they'll start a proper investigation, and into the judge as well, and why the judge decided to make such a judgment, which was incorrect.
Totally incorrect, and we can have a discussion about the fact we've got these closed courts where the judges are quite happy to tell people in the court it's my court. I've heard that on many occasions. And of course, we've had no criminal court and we've had no jury in this case.
No.
Well, let's remind ourselves of the 3 so-called wise monkeys. We put this up yesterday, but after that video, we think it's particularly pertinent. So we've got Met Commissioner Sir Bernard Hogan-Howe boasting that the Met is dealing with abuse and rape cases better than it did 20 years ago. He's teamed up with Head of Public Prosecutions, Alison Saunders. She's very big on the media. She's very big on fighting rape, apparently, except where it's Melanie Shaw from Beechwood Children's Home in Nottingham, who her CPS makes sure is disappeared back in prison. And then we have the extraordinary case that this lady, Eilish Angelini, former Procurator Fiscal in Scotland, heavily implicated in very strange dealings around the Holly Gregg abuse case. This is the woman used to make the report. So it's, again, in plain sight once you come down to say what's going on, a state-backed cover-up, I think.
Yep.
And let's bring in David Cameron, because it is the run-up to the election. And let's remind ourselves that while he says he's concerned about unemployment, jobs, the poor and the NHS, what really concerns David Cameron is there's no proper investigation into the sexual abuse of youngsters. So as we've said down at the bottom, David Cameron wants to move on from allegations of sexual abuse involving political figures in British political circles and the establishment. And top right there, very few people have exposed this over the internet, but it is now known. This is a remarkable picture of David Cameron alongside Matthew Byrne, who was a particularly vicious paedophile, eventually convicted and imprisoned. But David Cameron centre, paedophile Matthew Byrne on Cameron's left, and Michael Heseltine, of course, Tory grandee. So we say, did their security team really know that the Prime Minister was mixing very closely with an extremely dangerous paedophile? It's remarkable stuff, isn't it?
It's very remarkable.
And, well, what's happening with our children through the politics of the LibLab Con? Well, the Express has got it here. Let's have a look. It says that now more than 1 in 10 British children have made sex tapes. And basically they're reporting the sexualisation of Britain's children. Well, it's election time, so if you're impressed that the state-sponsored sexualisation of our children is now bearing fruit and corrupting their minds and their lives, if you're pleased about that, we suggest you vote for any of the LibLab Con parties. And let's just remind ourselves, we had Harriet Harman here, Deputy Leader of Labour, long-standing Labour lady. She was originally helping to campaign for rules on pornographic photos of children to be relaxed. We've had Michael Gove driving extremely hard to get ever more explicit sexual education into teaching. And where does it take us? Well, have a look at a couple of MPs. We've got Brooks Newmark and Chris Bryant MP. What's going on here? Well, we say this is calculated sexualisation of young children, and then we get the role models fitting.
Exactly, exploitation.
Yeah, what do other nations think of those two politicians photographing themselves semi-naked for sex partners? All normal? I don't know. I'm going to say I think they're pretty perverted. This man seems to have it sorted out. Michael Doherty, Britain is the only country where chasing a parking fine is higher priority than chasing paedophiles. And how could we live in a country with this sort of policy? Vote LibLab Con. And we'll just bring in this one again, because what type of people have been looking after our security? Well, here he is, Malcolm Rifkin, dodgy business deals. And sorry, I've got to just rub it home a little bit. Let's have a look at those two men in their Y-fronts. Oh, one hasn't got any Y-fronts at all. Well, we'll end on this one. It's David Cameron. And we just say, if you like obscene, hate-inciting material, such as the Charlie Hebdo magazine, you definitely want to vote Conservative 2015. Last word from you, John.
Well, the facts of the matter are out there in the press, or you can do a search online, and you find everything that we say at the UK column is very factual. If you do need any help and support, though, or you're a whistleblower that has something to say, then please contact us, and we will try and help you as best we can.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for joining us. Do think about who you should vote for at the election. Are they a good man or good woman? These are the people we really need, not parties. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.